always go into this. If I say call your parents, you might know their number.
Yeah.
You know, there's this whole gap in our life. When we're young, we memorize numbers, but I don't think that happens anymore. I think this is the first generation that we're beyond that. And then in the middle, I haven't memorized a number in years, but I know my grandmother's phone number. Mm-hmm. I know friends from high school's number still.
It sticks with you.
It sticks with you. But there's too many numbers now. People used to have one phone number, one way to contact.
Now you got the business phone, the business cell phone, personal cell phone, home phone, maybe. Yeah.
Right. It's like, well, let's see. Robert emailed me. I called him back. I texted him to see if he was coming. And we get into all these different, and then you forget, well, what was the last week we communicated?
Yeah, where does the conversation end? Yeah.
Yeah, and what's the flow of it? Have you had cert training yourself?
I have not. That's something that it's somewhere in this area is kind of hard to find. It's not offered quite too often. I live in Philadelphia proper, and that's not really something that the Office of Emergency Management there does very often, if they do it at all anymore. It's something, my training kind of in the emergency world comes from EMS. And so that whole like medical side and like maybe some basic fire suppression, I've kind of picked up from that world. So, that's kind of my window into the volunteer responder area. Maybe
we could work out something, and maybe you talk to the people down there at Jefferson and getting a little class together for their community, maybe an abbreviated class, something for the workplace. Because one of the things I had when we did it, it was 2 weeks, including 2 weekends, and it was 1 weekend was a dry run and going over the skills and the practices, and then the next weekend was a disaster scenario, and we split you in half, and half were victims, half were rescuers. Then we switched it up.
Yeah.
So if you were, if you tried to mess the other guys over, they got a chance to pay you back by making it too difficult. But it worked out really well, and because really the material when you're going over it on paper is so-so. But when you put them out in a scenario and people see what they're capable of, what overwhelms them and everything, it really sticks with them, even when it's a good mock. And we had taken a building, filled it with organic smoke, had the people in there, killed the power, laid out lighting, low voltage lighting that was red to symbolize down power lines and stuff like that, and juice, and told the people on the radio, and when you give the signal, go, let the rescuers in, and just had everybody screaming, help me, in a building full of snow, because said, go to it.
And they say, oh, this is real. Hopefully they know exactly what to do. They're like, all right, it clicks now. I can see that person needs this. I know how to do that. I can go help them.
Right. And they knew what worked. They knew what didn't work. They knew where they were overwhelmed. They knew where their strengths and weaknesses were. And that's all you can hope from it. But even when you do that, what you said, to go back to your point earlier, is that then those people go off back to their lives and nothing's done with those skills. And they just have this thing that they've done years ago. So if Jefferson would like to do something, I would have no problem. I mean, we've gone down to Jefferson, given talks on missing persons and rescue before. If they would want to do an abbreviated thing where, like a 2-day thing, we could come up with an abbreviated version of 1 day classroom, 1 day field, and just get everybody work together. Because the other thing that works in an environment like that is, as much as I said, focus on the individual, it really is a good team building exercise.
Yes. You get to know kind of where other people in your team are at, who knows how you can kind of help each other work together a little more.
Yeah, strengths and weaknesses, and you get to know, who you would never want to bandage you, who you do not want at the office examining you.
Exactly. Sometimes that's the most important part.
Yeah. Yeah, you always want to be where that person that's way too eager. Is there anything else you want to say about the program before you go?
No, I think that about wraps it up. It's a good program. I think that people that are listening to this, it's something that you should consider, at least, even though you don't take the class, at least look at some of the slides or the handbooks from it. It's got a lot of good information in there.
Yeah, I mean, and until the class is available to you, there is stuff available online where you can go over it and look at it. Even if you just want to know your house, know how to shut off your water, know how to shut off your gas, know where your circuit breakers are. Have a fire extinguisher on at least each level of the house, and have 2 fire extinguishers. I remember early on, going to a fire and a guy saying, we got there and he was sitting on the lawn. His house had burned down, and he said to me, and this is burning in my head, he said, if I had 2 fire extinguishers, I would have put it out. And that's why I tell everybody, I have 2. Have a system set up with your family of how you check in the event of a communications failure, so that you're not distracted by that thing where somebody is. Buy yourself some cheap FRS radios and keep them at your house. There's no licensing involved, and they don't cost you money to have them sitting around. You just check them when you check your smoke detectors. Have smoke detectors. Have carbon monoxide detectors. These are all things that you should be doing anyway. Where you want to go with having your, making spears and hoarding jerky, that's on you. I'm not judging. I like jerky too, just not that much. Jerky is one of those things that it's really easy to get too much of, as far as I'm concerned. I know I've offended the jerky party, but sorry, you can't have too much jerky. Yeah, except for the bacon stuff. The bacon stuff is good. But
always good, yeah.
Yeah, bacon's always good. And now we're offending vegetarians everywhere. That's I can't help it. Bacon is good. Thank you for coming, and thank you for reminding me about this, because I had forgotten about it. We still get people that ask about it, but I take their name down, put them on a list, but I can't do anything until I have enough people to justify a class.
Yeah, a whole class, yeah.
Which is 20 or 30 people, and people just don't. People get these things in their mind, and they see something on the news and go, wildland fires. I want to be a wildland firefighter. Mm-hmm. And then you get back to them, and they're like, I can't do that right now. I'm not at that point in my life.
You mean it takes years to get to that point?
Yeah, it takes years. Yeah. I thought that there was something online I could do and just have it happen. But thank you very much. And Russell, hit the button.